we're going to see very soon here in Alabama, in red state Alabama, a major test of how right-wingers on the court and right-wingers on the Supreme Court in Alabama are influencing electoral politics. This is going to get real interesting. Now on the Supreme Court, of course, the right-wing influence that I'm talking about is the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, which said that basically there is no right to an abortion. A woman's right to choose is up to the state. And this has caused some problems. Specific to Alabama, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that that IVF is killing babies because, this is in vitro fertilization. It's a fertility treatment, and that when you do IVF, you fertilize multiple embryos, then you look to see the healthiest one, the one that looks like it's going to be most robust, and then you implant that one, and sometimes you implant multiple ones and abort the ones that don't, or I guess the ones that don't attach, just get passed through, or both. So anyhow, they outlawed IVF in Alabama, and the legislature is still dealing with this. It's quite the mess. So now this woman, Marilyn Lands, the Alabama House of Representatives has an open seat right now. And there's a Republican running for that seat, but there's also a Democrat running for that seat, Marilyn Lands, who is a mental health counselor. She ran for the same seat 2 years ago for the last cycle. I believe these are 2-year seats. And she lost 52 to 45 to Republican David Cole. The problem is that David Cole was a criminal. David Cole, this Republican member of the Alabama House, or ex-member, claimed he lived in the district that he ran in using the address of a friend who lived in the district. He didn't actually live in the district, which under Alabama law is a crime. And he was charged with this. He ultimately reached a plea deal with the prosecutors where instead of going to jail for what was a jailable offense, he resigned, which is why there's this special election. So, and he actually did serve 60 days in jail. So here we have this mental health counselor, this Democrat running for this seat in Alabama, a seat that she lost in the previous race 52 to 45 by a 7-point margin. And her ads show her sitting alongside a woman, Alyssa Gonzalez, who tells the audience, quote, "I was pregnant with a baby who had a fatal condition and would not survive, and because of Alabama's abortion ban, we had to drive 10 hours to get the medical care I needed." And then Lands, Marilyn Lands, who is running for this seat, she says in response, she says, "I once faced a nearly identical situation, but I was able to get the care I needed close to home. It's shameful that today women have fewer freedoms than I did decades ago." And she goes on to say, it's not just abortion that's in the crosshairs of conservatives. She's speaking of the court's IVF decision. She says, I didn't know that we could get any lower, and yet we've proved that we're capable of that. So here I think this is going to be really interesting. We're going to see in this case where you've got, there's a Republican running, and the Republican is just, kind of a generic Republican. It's Madison City Councilman Teddy Powell. And he's not talking about abortion. He's talking about infrastructure. And he also, the legislature did pass a bill. It's being challenged, but they did pass legislation to protect in vitro fertilization. And he's praising that. So he's trying to be like, well, I'm kind of a moderate here, and like this. And, he says, I'll address it. He was asked about, why isn't there an exemption for rape and incest in the Alabama abortion law, anti-abortion law? And he said, I'll address it. I think there's room for improvement, but the law is what the law is, and it's been decided. It's an issue that's been worked on, in my personal opinion. It just doesn't really matter. So here's a guy who is defending forcing 10-year-old girls who were raped by a family member to give birth, running against a Democrat who is, running on basing her campaign on this whole thing of, wait a minute, I'm in favor of a woman's right to have an abortion. in Alabama, where there is no right to have an abortion. So now, she's not obviously going to flip the Alabama legislature. You know, one seat is not going to make that big a change. But what this is going to do is it's going to tell us if she can take this 7-point margin and shave it down to a 2-point margin, or, you know, please God, win the seat, that's going to be a huge indicator. The Democrats are going to walk away with the election in November, barring some unforeseen, you know, meteorite striking the earth or something. You know, some big event. I mean, in this district, this 10th district, Trump beat Biden 49-48. That was the smallest victory margin in that district ever. So I'm actually optimistic. I think that there's a very good chance that Marilyn Lanza is actually going to win this seat.